Ugo had met Chitena while overseeing a development project in the village. Her kindness and strength had captivated him, and despite their vastly different backgrounds, they had grown close. When Ugo brought Chitena to meet his wealthy parents, he had hoped they would see the same beauty in her that he did. Instead, they saw only her poverty. As they scanned her from top to bottom, their eyes lingered on her simple dress adorned with little pink and yellow roses. Chitena felt their judgment like a physical blow. Overwhelmed with shame and sadness, she ran out in tears. Ugo quickly ran after her. "I'm so sorry. Chitena, my parents," he stammered, trying to find the right words. "Take me back to the village. Ugo, I want to go. Please." Chitena pleaded, her voice breaking. The drive back to the village felt long and silent. Ugo's heart ached as he glanced at Chitena, who stared out the window, her face a mask of sorrow. When they arrived, Mr. and Mrs. Nees immediately noticed their daughter's distress. The following morning, still weighed down by sadness, Chitena woke up early to gather wood in the forest. As she walked, her mind was clouded with mixed emotions. Distracted, she didn't see the loose ground beneath her feet and stumbled, falling into a deep hole. Chitena lay at the bottom of the hole, her strength waning as the hours passed. Just as she was about to lose hope, she heard footsteps approaching. A farmer, out gathering herbs, peered into the hole and saw her. With great care, he helped her out and took her to his village, where she received the treatment she desperately needed. Meanwhile, back in her village, Chitena's parents were beside themselves with worry. They had searched tirelessly but found no trace of her. They began to fear the worst, believing that the forest had claimed her life. Ugo drove back to the village to check on Chitena, unaware of the turmoil that had unfolded. As he arrived, he noticed an unusual stillness in the air. Chitena's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Nees, were outside their home, their faces etched with worry and exhaustion. Ugo approached them, concern evident in his voice. "Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. Nees. How is Chitena doing?" Mrs. Nees' eyes filled with tears as she replied, "Ugo, she's missing. She went to gather wood in the forest yesterday morning and never returned. We've searched tirelessly but found no trace of her." Mr. Nees added, his voice heavy with despair, "We fear the worst, Ugo. The forest is dangerous, and we believe it may have claimed her life." Ugo's heart sank. He felt a wave of panic and guilt wash over him. "No, we can't give up hope. We have to search for her. She has to be out there somewhere." The Nezis nodded, though their faces showed the strain of their relentless search. Ugo immediately organized another search party, rallying the villagers to join in the effort. They combed through the forest, calling out Chitena's name, but as the hours passed, their hope began to wane. As night fell, the search party returned to the village, exhausted and disheartened. Ugo refused to give up, but the reality of the situation was beginning to set in. Chitena's parents were beside themselves with worry, and the villagers started to fear that she was truly lost. Ugo spent the night in the village, unable to sleep, his mind racing with thoughts of Chitena. He vowed to continue the search, no matter how long it took. The next morning, he set out again, determined to find her and bring her back safely. Days turned into weeks, and hope began to fade. The villagers, too, started to believe that she was lost forever. 3 weeks had passed, and the village was shrouded in a somber mood. Ugo, though exhausted and heartbroken, refused to give up hope. He knew in his heart that Chitena was out there somewhere, waiting to be found. Each passing moment felt like an eternity, filled with a gnawing sense of loss and helplessness. He had organized search parties, scoured the forest, and questioned every villager, but all efforts had been in vain. Every night, Ugo lay awake, haunted by thoughts of Chitena. He replayed their last moments together, the look of sadness in her eyes and the sound of her voice. The uncertainty of her fate was unbearable. He couldn't shake the image of her alone and in danger, and it tore at his soul. His parents tried to console him, but their words felt hollow. They couldn't understand the depth of his love for Chitena or the pain of not knowing what had happened to her. Ugo felt a profound sense of guilt, blaming himself for not protecting her, for not being there when she needed him most. As the villagers began to presume Chitena was dead, Ugo's grief turned into a steely resolve. He refused to accept that she was gone. He clung to the hope that she was still out there, somewhere waiting to be found. This hope was the only thing that kept him going, driving him to continue the search despite the growing odds. Ugo's determination was unwavering. He knew that giving up was not an option. He would keep searching, keep hoping, and keep fighting for Chitena, no matter how long it took. His love for her was a beacon in the darkness, guiding him through the pain and uncertainty. When the villagers finally concluded that Chitena had died, Ugo felt as if the ground had been pulled out from under him. The weight of their words crushed his spirit, and a deep, aching sorrow settled in his chest. The hope that had kept him going for weeks was now replaced by a hollow emptiness. Ugo's mind was a storm of emotions. He felt anger, grief, and an overwhelming sense of loss. The villagers' acceptance of Chitena's presumed death felt like a betrayal, a final nail in the coffin of his hopes. He couldn't bear the thought of never seeing her again, never hearing her laugh or feeling her touch. In his anguish, Ugo's thoughts turned to his parents. Unable to contain his emotions any longer, Ugo confronted his parents. "This is your fault," he said, his voice trembling with anger and pain. "If you hadn't tried to keep us apart, Chitena would still be here. You drove her away, and now she's gone." His mother, tears in her eyes, tried to reach out to him. "Ugo, we never wanted this. We thought we were protecting you, protecting me." Ugo spat, his voice rising. "You destroyed everything I cared about. Your actions have cost me the love of my life." His father, usually stoic, looked down, unable to meet Ugo's gaze. The weight of their actions was clear, and the guilt was palpable. Ugo turned away, his heart heavy with grief and anger. He couldn't stay in the house any longer. He needed to be alone, to process his pain and figure out what to do next. As he walked out into the night, he vowed to himself that he would never forgive his parents for what they had done. Ugo couldn't bear to stay in his parents' house any longer. The walls seemed to close in on him, filled with memories of their betrayal and the loss of Chitena. He needed to find closure, and he knew the only place he might find it was with Chitena's parents. One evening, he packed his belongings and left without a word. The journey to the village was long and arduous, but Ugo was driven by a need to be closer to Chitena, even if it was only through her family. He arrived late at night, exhausted and emotionally drained. Chitena's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Nees, welcomed him with open arms. They had always seen the love he had for their daughter and felt a deep pity for him. "My son," Mr. Nees said gently, "you must try to let go of our daughter. She is gone now. Please, try to move on." Ugo shook his head, his eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and determination. "I wish I could do that, Mr. Nees, but something tells me she is out there. I can't explain it, but I feel it in my heart. I need to stay here, close to where she was last seen. Maybe then I'll find some answers." Mrs. Nees placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "You are welcome to stay with us as long as you need. Ugo, we understand your pain. We miss her every day, too." Ugo nodded, grateful for their kindness. He knew that living with Chitena's parents wouldn't be easy, but it was a step he needed to take. He hoped that being in the village, surrounded by the memories of Chitena, would bring him the closure he desperately sought. As he settled into his new life with the Nees family, Ugo remained vigilant, always on the lookout for any sign of Chitena. His heart refused to give up hope, and he vowed to keep searching until he found the truth. The villagers had mixed reactions to Ugo's relentless search for Chitena. Many admired his determination and the depth of his love for her. They saw his efforts as a testament to his character and were moved by his unwavering hope. Some even offered their assistance, joining the search parties and providing any information they could. However, there were also those who were skeptical. They believed that the forest's reputation as a cursed place meant that Chitena was likely gone for good. These villagers felt that Ugo was chasing a lost cause and that his efforts were in vain. They urged him to accept the reality and move on, fearing that his obsession would only bring him more pain. The village buzzed with conversations about his latest leads and the possibility of finding Chitena alive. Determination also sparked a sense of hope among some villagers who had lost loved ones to the forest. They began to wonder if perhaps their own missing family members might still be out there, waiting to be found. Ugo sat with Mr. Nees outside their modest home. The air was cool, and the sounds of the night began to emerge. The older man decided to share a chilling story about the forest where Chitena had disappeared. His voice was low and somber, filled with the weight of old fears and local legends. "Ugo, Mr. Neves began. "There's something you should know about the forest where Chitena disappeared. It's known as an evil forest by the villagers. Many believe it to be cursed, a place where people vanish without a trace." Ugo listened intently, a shiver running down his spine. Mr. Neves continued, his eyes reflecting the seriousness of his words. "Over the years, there have been countless stories of people entering the forest and never returning. Some say it's haunted by spirits. Others believe it's a place where dark forces dwell." He paused, looking at Ugo with a grave expression. "There are even those who claim to hear screams coming from the forest at night. Blood-curdling cries that echo through trees, leaving anyone who hears them in shivers. It's a place that instills fear in the hearts of the villagers." Ugo felt a cold knot of fear tighten in his stomach. The thought of Chitena being lost in such a place was almost too much to bear. But he also felt a renewed determination. He couldn't let these stories deter him. He had to find her, no matter what. But there are also stories of those who have survived, finding refuge in nearby villages. Ugo listened intently, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. "Do you think Chitena could have found her way to one of these villages?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Neves nodded slowly. "It's possible. The forest is vast, but there are small villages scattered around its edges. If she managed to escape, she might have sought help there." This sparked an idea in Ugo's mind. "Thank you for telling me, Mr. Neves," Ugo said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. "I won't give up. I will find Chitena and bring her back." Mr. Neves nodded, his expression softening with a mix of hope and sorrow. "Be careful, Ugo. The forest is dangerous, but your love for Chitena is strong. May it guide you safely through the darkness." The next morning, he decided to visit the nearby villages and ask around. He set out at dawn, determined to follow any lead, no matter how small. His first stop was a bustling market in a nearby village. He approached the vendors and villagers, showing them a picture of Chitena and asking if anyone had seen her. Despite his efforts, no one recognized her. Disheartened but not defeated, Ugo pressed on. As he was about to leave, an elderly woman approached him. "I haven't seen her," she said, "but there's another village not far from here. They might know something." With renewed hope, Ugo drove to the next village. He went straight to the market, repeating his inquiries. This time, he received a different response. A young man pointed him towards a small house at the edge of the village. "They found a stranger in the forest a few weeks ago," the young man explained. "She's been staying with a family in that house. Maybe it's her." Ugo's heart raced as he made his way to the house. Could it really be Chitena? He felt a surge of hope, believing he was finally getting close to finding her. Ugo's heart leaped with hope. "Can you take me to her, please?" The old man rose from his seat and motioned for Ugo to follow. They walked a short distance to another small hut. The old woman gently pushed open the door. Chitena's eyes fluttered open, and she looked up at Ugo with a mixture of surprise and relief. "Ugo," she whispered, her voice weak but filled with joy. "I can't believe you found me." Ugo took her hand in his heart swelling with gratitude and love. "I never gave up on you. I knew you were out there somewhere. I'm so glad you're safe." Chitena smiled faintly, tears of happiness streaming down her cheeks. "Thank you for not giving up on me, Ugo. I knew you would come." As they embraced, Ugo felt a profound sense of relief and fulfillment. The long, arduous search had finally led him to the woman he loved, and he vowed never to let her go again. When Ugo and Chitena arrived back at the village, it was late in the evening. The villagers, who had been anxiously awaiting any news, gathered around as they saw Ugo's familiar figure approaching with someone by his side. Whispers of excitement and disbelief spread through the crowd. Chitena's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Neves, rushed forward, their eyes wide with hope and fear. When they saw Chitena, alive and safe, they broke into tears of joy. Mrs. Neves embraced her daughter tightly, while Mr. Neves placed a comforting hand on Ugo's shoulder. "Thank you, Ugo," Mr. Neves said, his voice thick with emotion. "You brought our daughter back to us. We can never repay you for this." Ugo smiled, his own eyes glistening with tears. "I promised I would find her, and I meant it. I'm just glad she's safe." The villagers, moved by the reunion, cheered and welcomed Chitena back with open arms. Mister, they had all feared the worst. But now, seeing her alive, their spirits were lifted. The village, which had been shrouded in sorrow, was now filled with celebration and relief. As the night wore on, Ugo and Chitena sat with her parents, recounting the events of the past weeks. Chitena spoke of her ordeal in the forest and the kindness of the villagers who had taken her in. Ugo shared his relentless search and the unwavering hope that had kept him going. We had lost hope. You truly love our daughter, and for that, we are forever grateful. Ugo nodded, his heart full. Chitena means everything to me. I would go to the ends of the earth for her. As the night drew to a close, Ugo and Chitena knew that their journey was far from over. They had overcome incredible odds to be together, but they also understood that their future required careful planning and determination. Ugo decided to take a bold step to ensure their happiness and stability. Secretly, Ugo arranged for Mr. and Mrs. Nees to move to the city. He rented a comfortable apartment for them, providing a safe and supportive environment while Chitena finished her university studies. He wanted to give her the best chance at success without the burden of worrying about her parents' well-being. No one knew of Ugo's plan, and he worked tirelessly to ensure everything was in place. As the months passed, Chitena had undergone a remarkable transformation. With Ugo's support and her own determination, she had blossomed into a confident and accomplished young woman. Her education and experiences in the city had broadened her horizons, and she carried herself with grace and poise. She excelled in her studies, growing more confident and poised with each passing day. When Ugo saw that she was satisfied and thriving, he decided it was time to reveal his efforts. He invited Chitena to meet his parents, eager to show them the remarkable woman she had become. That evening, Ugo's parents were impressed by Chitena's grace and intelligence. They didn't recognize her as the same girl they had rejected years before. After dinner, when Chitena had gone back home, Ugo's mother spoke to him. "Son, you need to marry that girl," she said, her voice filled with admiration. "She is nice, well-mannered, and brilliant. She is your type, son. Look how long you mourned that dirty-looking village girl. We almost lost you too." Ugo's parents, who had once been skeptical of Chitena, were now genuinely happy with Ugo's choice. They saw the positive impact she had on their son, and admired her strength and resilience. To celebrate this newfound harmony, they decided to host a family dinner. The evening was filled with warmth and laughter as both families came together. Ugo's parents welcomed Mr. and Mrs. Nees with open arms, and the atmosphere was one of unity and joy. As the dinner progressed, Ugo stood up to make a speech. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Ugo began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I want to take a moment to express my gratitude to my parents. You stood by my side as I mourned the loss of the love of my life. Your support meant everything to me, and it helped me through some of the darkest times." Ugo continued his speech, his voice steady and filled with emotion. He paused, looking around the room at the faces of those he loved. He turned to Chitena, his eyes shining with pride and love, then looked at his parents. "I want to be honest with you, Mom and Dad. I never truly moved on." Ugo said, his voice steady, "The person you said wasn't my type is the same person you see today. All it took was helping her reach her full potential. When you truly love someone, you make the effort to support and uplift them, because if you don't, you might end up losing something precious while pursuing something less valuable. I had to do this secretly, but today she is a graduate. The poverty you both saw is not there anymore. What matters is the inside, not the outside. Just like when you pick a book, you cannot judge it by its cover." Ugo's parents were visibly moved and embarrassed by his words. They realized the depth of their mistake and the strength of Ugo's love for Chitena. With tears in their eyes, they turned to Chitena and apologized sincerely. "We are so sorry, Chitena. We misjudged you and let our prejudices blind us. Please forgive us." Chitena, with her characteristic grace, accepted their apology. "Thank you. I forgive you. You were doing what you thought was best for your son, I understand. Let's move forward together as a family." He was relieved that his parents finally saw Chitena's true worth. The room was filled with a sense of reconciliation and joy. Ugo and Chitena went on to have a beautiful wedding, surrounded by their families and friends. In addition to the city wedding, Ugo and Chitena wanted to honor Chitena's roots by celebrating in her village as well. The village celebration was a vibrant and heartfelt event, bringing the entire community together. The village was transformed and filled with music and dance. Villagers showered Ugo and Chitena with blessings and gifts, expressing their happiness and support for the couple. The sense of community and love was palpable, making the village celebration a truly special and memorable event. Both the city wedding and the village celebration were perfect reflections of Ugo and Chitena's journey, blending their past and future and honoring the love and support of their families and communities. Ugo's parents were genuinely happy with their son's decision and welcomed Chitena into their family with open arms. Ugo's parents learned a profound lesson from this story. Initially, they judged Chitena based on her appearance and socioeconomic status, failing to see her true worth and the depth of her character. Their prejudice led them to make decisions that almost cost them their son's happiness. However, through Ugo's unwavering love and determination, they came to realize their mistake. They saw that true value lies within a person's character and heart, not in their outward appearance or material wealth. This realization moved them to sincerely apologize to Chitena and embrace her as part of their family. The moral of this story shows that love can overcome prejudice, societal expectations, and even the most challenging situations. The story emphasizes the importance of looking beyond outward appearances and material wealth. It teaches that true worth is found in a person's character, kindness, and inner strength. Forgiveness is also important, as it demonstrates the power of humility. Overall, the story is a testament to the transformative power of love, the importance of looking beyond superficial judgments, and the value of forgiveness and reconciliation in building strong, supportive relationships. Thank you for watching Granny G Stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories.